What advice would you give Baker Mayfield?
I continue to do what he's doing, right? I mean, do not waver at all. He's the one who has all the leverage right now. They've already said, Deshaun Watson is the adult in the room, apparently. And so stay strong, get your money and get a chance somewhere else eventually. I don't know how this is going to play out. They have to release him. He can't be on this roster next year.
But what if you find out Deshaun Watson suspended for the first 8 games of the season or the entire year and you're Baker Mayfield?
I want to play.
I would. It allows you to audition.
What would be the best possible scenario for Baker Mayfield? To play in an offense that he knows. Yeah. Is Kevin Stefanski going to play him after all that's gone on? Have all the crap he has taken this offseason and dished himself? How is this going to be any bit non-chaotic? It may be less chaotic if Baker Mayfield's starting than it would be if Deshaun Watson's starting, but it's going to be chaos. And they're not going to have a chance, I don't think, to be successful if Baker Mayfield's the starting quarterback in Cleveland.
The team that should trade for Baker Mayfield?
I'd like to see him go someplace where he could maybe sit, but I do think Carolina is a place that still can. I am a big fan of Sam Darnold. I still am. I still believe he has something in him. Somebody needs to give him the right opportunity, and I'm hoping that happens in Carolina this year. But if it doesn't, I think that he has a chance to go there and maybe kind of Mitchell Trubisky it.
I don't think he has the ego to Mitchell Trubisky it.
I don't think so either. I think that would be really difficult.
He's a star in his own mind,
and I can relate to that because when I was in Seattle and Mike Holmgren had me with Matt Hasselbeck and Trent Dilfer and asked me to, sit, learn, be the third string quarterback. My ego wouldn't allow it. I'd always been the starting quarterback, Dan. So how was I going to be anything else? In my mind, I was just like, I'll quit. I quit, and that's what I did. So I get.
Wait, you quit instead of being the third string quarterback?
Yeah, I could have played for. I mean, look at what backup quarterbacks make these days and play for years, right? Yeah. My ego, my pride was so overwhelming, and I was so sick at the time. I was so mentally ill. I was so depressed. I couldn't admit to Coach Holmgren and say, "Hey, I'm really struggling here. Can you help me?" Instead, I just said, "I'm gone."
But how much does arrogance play in the role? And maybe arrogance isn't the right word, but do you need to be arrogant to a certain degree?
I think there's a fine line between what you call arrogance and maybe just total confidence in what you can do.
Like Dan Marino, to me, had an arrogance to him. Like he just had that attitude.
And I did too.
Elway?
I did too. And when I was successful, the difference is there's individuals who can have that swagger, can have that arrogance, and fail, and still find their way through it. When I failed, I blew the whole thing up, right? I was going Mach 10, with my hair on fire and taking everybody with me. If you weren't with me, and that's the difference. And so when I'm out, when I'm out speaking all the time now, I talk about that. I'm gonna talk about it's not about the circumstance anymore. It's about how you deal with it, period. And there are a ton of individuals, I think, at the quarterback position that deal with failure tremendously better than those of us back then, me in particular.
Because that's what I wonder about Baker Mayfield. Is he wired to be a backup? Can he hit a reset button, given that personality, the chip on your shoulder? I mean, Ryan Tannehill did it, but Ryan Tannehill was wired differently than Baker Mayfield. Jameis Winston was able to sort of rewire himself. Marcus Mariota didn't have to rewire himself. It's the same kind of personality there. But, I mean, those are examples of ones who could and ones who couldn't.
Incredibly difficult, especially when you're that high of a draft pick. The expectations that come with it.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard. I think it's going to be hard for Marcus Mariota in Atlanta. I think it's going to be hard. I think Jameis Winston was coming along last year before the injury, but I think that's incredibly difficult unless you're able to humble yourself. If he's able to do that, which I think a lot of people who know him or see him from afar don't believe that's possible, then I would expect the guy to maybe bounce around and be a journeyman or maybe even just be out of the NFL.